Lights, camera. Welcome to the Carman's channel. I am the Carman. And I'm dealing with an issue that I want to share with everybody in internet land that may possibly be stricken with a Chrysler fuel pump issue. Specifically, mine is on a 00 Sebring Convertible with a 2.5 V6. You may notice as I'm doing this tutorial, you may see clouds of smoke billowing out of my mouth. I am a non-smoker. That would be due to the 18-degree temperature in my garage right now. Of course, I can't throw on my 150,000 BTU heater because then you cannot hear me, which you're probably not listening anyway, but hey, that's on you. Among other things, oh yeah, by the way, this Sebring is the first car I ever had that didn't leak water. It's got 3 inches of ice stuck in it. We'll deal with that little issue later. I'm thinking the top had a leak in it in a little bit warmer climate. We'll deal with that later. So what happened to this was I turned the key on and I started getting gas out of the back of the car. Well, obviously, that's not right. That's not supposed to happen. So I've dropped the fuel tank, and this is what this is going to be about. I'm going to do a quick tutorial over it. And I just wanted to show you this nipple right here for the gas, the main gas feed right here. You got two little 3/8 lines right here. But anyway, it just came out and it was just pouring, you know, it was just pouring for all it was worth all over the ground. So rather than go pay $200 or God knows what they cost, of course, you know me, I'm going to the junkyard. So, of course, I find one out of a Stratus. The plate, anyway. And, of course, you can change just the pump, too. So, if you've got one going bad, don't sweat it. You can do, these things just pop out pretty easy. We'll do it up close to that. But, a common problem is one of the feed lines right here is to crack. So, for $2.50 is what they charge me. They will not take a credit card. I had to pay for it in pennies, nickels, and quarters out of my cup jar, which I did not particularly like, which left me short for going over the nickel bridge, which now costs 35 cents. Just want to throw that out there. But anyway, this is leaking. So I go pull this, pop it. Takes about 10 minutes. A little aggravation finding it. Most salvage yards have these laying in the back seat. You know, the fuel pumps. So I never go spend retail on a fuel pump because most of them will warranty them for 30 days. And, of course, fuel pumps are like employees. They either work or they don't. Okay, so this is the actual pump right here. And I'm going to get behind the camera and start up close in this stuff. And then I guess the first thing I'm going to show you or tell you, the tank actually sits in the car kind of like what you're seeing here. I mean, this is pretty much... I guess it was kind of like there's the filler side. So she's probably sitting up in here like this. And the fuel filter is actually sitting, you have two 13mm bolts that hold the straps up. And in those straps, one holds the fuel filter. And the fuel filter actually has two lines that are attached to it permanently. And basically it's a pressure line and a return line, which is where these two go right here. Now, according to some people, they say, well, you know, you can just drop it down, disconnect the lines, and life goes on. Of course, with me, there's got to always be an issue. Well, my hands are so big that, you know, I just couldn't get my hands in there. I mean, that's just how there is to it. So I just dropped the two 13mm, kind of wiggled it down a little bit to where I could get my hands on the filler. You'll see the filler hose right there. The filler hose has like a 6mm, I don't know if they all have it, but this particular one had a 6mm or a flathead slot, which you could not get the flathead slot on. So I just did it, took a screwdriver and kind of popped it, you know, till it slid off. Other than that, a little wiggling and jiggling, she came down pretty easy. When you get it down a couple of inches, you'll have to disconnect the electrical. The electric fuel pump is connected behind on the driver's side. You have to pull the rear seat out, the top of it. It's two 18mm bolts, kick it upwards, and it's sitting right down on the bottom right, which I'll take a picture of it in a second. Actually, I'll show it to you. If I can get a light in there. But anyway, you just take it, and that's where it unsnaps at, and I'm going to show you a shot of that in case you want to do that first, because you don't want to start pulling this thing down and putting pressure on that electrical line, just between you and I. Alright, so let me get my camera out, and I'm going to start up close in some of this stuff. I'm going to show you what's up with the fuel pump and how it works, and, you know, any other little tidbits. The actual job should take you about an hour, I guess, you know. Of course, it's much better if you've already got no gas in it. But, you know, if you have to put a little jack under it and a board, you know, you're probably not going to have a transmission jack like I got, but luckily for me, it only had like a gallon of gas in it anyway, because the people that had this were so cheap that they didn't want to fix it anyway, or stealing their own gas or whatever. Maybe the neighborhood kids did. Who knows? I don't care. You probably don't either. But, alright, so let me get the camera, let me get behind the camera and show you some up-closies. And, you know, kind of get an idea of what's going on here. Alright, and, you know, guys, I appreciate if you subscribe, because I am the car man, and I do fix stuff when nobody else will. And I'll show you how to do it for almost nothing. Okay, so here's the electrical. Now, the filming's not going to be that great right now. Of course, I'm trying to hold this stable in one hand. But on one end of this thing, you have what they call a dummy plug. And the reason they call it a dummy plug is it's a dummy plug. But anyway, you'll see that hanging on the side of your evap system. And, of course, this right here is the plug that goes into the interior of the car. I'm going to show you in a second where that plugs in at. And, of course, this is the plug to the actual pump. Now, you're not going to be able to unplug this without first taking the cap off and getting access to that, because you see that crazy little slot this thing has? There you go. You can kind of make it out. Well, look up there where the two small notches are at the 12 o'clock position, moving it around for the 12 o'clock position. How this works is, see if we can tell this one right here. That right there is the 12 o'clock on that. So you'd have to put it in, push it down, and it passes it and then turns to the right and it locks in. There's also a black gasket that goes right around the ring of this. Taking a little closer look at the pump. As you may notice, this right here is a Carter replacement cap. This is what I paid $2.50 for. No problem. It did a great job. It just snapped in, and I fixed my problem for $2. Always check your sock at the end of this. This one right here is still pretty good. Nothing really hard or anything. It's still pliable. Also, while you're down here, this is how your vehicle tells whether or not it has gas. I mean, what the level of gas is. See, it floats. And based on the level. So when you go install this, make sure this is sitting back in the right position. You want to take a real good close look at this stuff right here and make sure, dang, can't hardly really see it that well, but you're really looking where that resistor or where that resistance is at, because that's what tells the computer what the level of fuel is. All right, we're going to show you the spot in the car, but let me show you around the gas tank real quick. This is always fun. So here's your little box right here, the evap box. And the fuel pump will go right here. This is how it's sitting in the car. If you look underneath it, this would be the back of the car looking up. So this is completely hidden. You can't see it. You can see the fuel filler nozzle. And, of course, you got a couple little evap hoses and stuff like that that when you lower it down, you'll be able to get to a little easier. But also, take a look inside your gas, and you ain't going to be able to see nothing in there. But, of course, I siphoned all mine out because I'm lazy and I don't really want to deal with a 100-pound gas tank, so I just rather deal with just a plastic shell. But anyway, that's the gas tank. And in a second, I'm going to show you what it looks like underneath when this stuff comes off. Okay, so now I'm inside this nice, lovely piece of whatever we want to call it. We're going to leave all those name calling out. But right there's the plug, as you can clearly see. Let me see if I can zero in on that hole. That's the hole that it's coming through, and you see that little piece of blue? That's where the plug's actually at. Try not to make you too drunk pulling this camera out. Okay, so if you were in the back seat, this is kind of the location where you're dealing with. Pretty simple stuff. I mean, I just disconnect that first because it's going to be problematic if you don't. All right, let me show you what's going on underneath this bad boy. Okay, now I'm underneath it. I went ahead and climbed underneath it. This is on the driver's side right here. That right there is your main fuel line. And, of course, it's just a pinch and release kind of deal. But as you see, there's only one line. So when we deal with the fuel filter having the two lines, like I said, one's just a return. And this is the fuel filler neck. Man, that sucker was tough. As you can clearly see the amount of corrosion that's on it, it was just tough to get out of there. But put some WD-40 on it. It's a number 6. This particular one's a number 6. I guess you might, who knows, somebody down the years may have changed yours out or whatever. Hell, this one might be changed out. I have no idea. Okay, now this piece right here is kind of interesting. I'm actually looking at this upside down, so let me see if I can right side up myself here. Not looking like we're making much progress. You're going to see this heat shield right here. You see the exhaust? And that's the heat shield. Well, as you notice, one of my little rubber tabs right there broke. I tried to, you know, kind of flip it out with or kind of put a little pressure on it and push it out, but sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. If one breaks, who cares? I mean, you can always put a strap on it if you had to, but one will hold it sufficiently. Of course, we're dealing with a car with 100,000 miles on it, 15 years old, so, I mean, don't have to be too perfect. Anyway, give you an idea of the fit and finish that's under here. I say fit and finish. But you got some room to work with. It's not like the end of the world or anything. Alright, let me get on to you with this fuel filter. Okay, so here's the fuel filter. And let's see if I can kind of make this thing kind of quick disconnects. It's going to be sitting, as the strap goes across this sucker, it's going to be kind of like this. I think the strap's going to be sitting about right here. And that's pretty much how she's going to be sitting on there. So the strap's got to come off. And it goes right through this plate right here. And that's pretty much the end of the road for the filter. It's got that little cover on it. This filter on this one, I'm going to replace it just because it's good karma to do so. But, I mean, it's kind of like a good employee working or not, right? There's the quick disconnect on the main line. Like I said, it took 5 minutes. No big deal. And one of these is a fill line. The other one's a return. The return is the blue. And green is always go. Go, 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 go. Alright, guys. Speaking of that. Okay, so you got the car man today. That's the end of the job. Do me a favor. Subscribe, support your veterans. Homefront hugs. Jennifer, I love you. They will all love you. Adopt somebody. Do something good with your life. Meanwhile, I'm going to find something new to save you some money on. See you guys later. Peace.